part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Worldwide, and you're listening to the Krypton Report.
But, I mean, the Batmobile, freaking loved it. It was understated, but in the best possible way. It was menacing. And I told Tyler, I really feel like this is almost like Batman Noir.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's so heavy. It's so heavy. There's so much weight to the film. And I feel like if you're used to, like, campiness of Batman, that this is definitely not going to be your flick. But if you read the comics and you know the heaviness that is there with the storytelling, then you're going to really appreciate what's present, I feel like. At least that's what it is for me.
Okay.
I'm talking a lot. I'm sorry.
No, you're perfectly fine. You can talk all you want. Like you said, there's a lot to process. There's a lot of story. Pattinson and Kravitz did an amazing job. I think everyone did.
Oh my god, the freaking talent in this film was just awesome. I was, like, floored by who the Riddler was. I didn't look these things up prior to, so I didn't know who he was. So seeing him at the end, it was surprising to me, but like hell yeah! Like I could see it. It was so good.
Oh, he is great.
His performance was off the chain, and he was also. May I add here, like, I was unnerved.
Yeah.
I was unnerved a lot of the film by his, you just never knew where he was, what he was doing. It was like, yeah, it was intense. It was exactly how you would imagine a real world Riddler to be. This is not Riddler of,
this is not Jim Carrey.
This is not Jim Carrey. Yeah, thank you. That's what I was trying to, like.
This is comic book Riddler. This is how it's been for a while. You know, I can hear the boots still, the spur boots, the heaviness of the boots. Just.
See, I like driving down the road now with the Batman theme in my head. I'm going to try not to hurt anybody as I'm driving, but I'm just saying, like,
you know,
makes me feel BA.
So recently we did that podcast with, you are BA. You're always
whatever.
BA. No, we did that look back at 89 and Batman Begins.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's interesting what each era thinks of as a realistic Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Because, honestly, watching this and then looking at Begins looks too polished.
Yeah.
And as far as his real-world isms, like, his real-world isms in that movie is like, he's getting it from Wayne Tech R&D.
Yep.
This, he's building it all himself.
I mean, holy cow. Yeah. It's like you respect him even more so, because it's not daddy and mommy's money as much. Like, we're not being force-fed that. It's like, I don't know, it's really impressive the way that they did this, and I feel like it really goes along with today's culture, you know, and even our real world today, you know, looking around at all the events that are going on, this felt like it could literally be dropped in the middle of our world right now, and it'd be believable.
Yes. You know, I'm thinking back through, like, okay, what are Batman tropes or things, staples, so to speak, that we didn't get in this? Well, we haven't got to see him, and I think it's all set up for the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Him stepping back out in the light as Bruce Wayne. Him taking ownership of his company.
Yep.
Him working on this renewal thing and where that money was going, because they said it had no overseer.
Yeah, what's interesting is, like, I feel like Batman Begins definitely tried to do that, but this is different. Like, this is like, yeah, he was a recluse, like, straight up. And him stepping back into his family's power would be amazing to see in the next film. Like, that wasn't the story.
Right.
The story was so much more.
This was also the story of a vigilante becoming the hero.
Yeah, him actually defining, like, who he wants to be. I think that was huge. That's got to be one of my favorite parts of the whole film, was when the guy looked up at him and said, "I am vengeance." And that's what he was known as. And then I feel like that was the disconnect between, I could say so much right now, that was the disconnect between him and Catwoman, is he was no longer taking on the role of vengeance. He was taking on the role of hero, and realizing that he's more about peace and helping and maintaining, everyone's safety. Like, I don't know, it was really cool.
It was really cool. I do wish, like, this is kind of corny, but I do wish at some point he would have been like, "I am Batman." Like,
you're right that it's extremely corny.
But every Batman gives us the "I'm Batman" line.
Yeah.
Okay. Affleck didn't give it to us, which sucked. We didn't get the "I'm Batman," and in this he's just "I'm vengeance." Like, it'd been awesome if he maybe would have done the "I am vengeance," "I am the Knight," "I am Batman."
Now you're just going there.
Heck yeah, I'm going there. I mean, okay, Matt Reeves straight up did his comic book homework.
Yeah.
Homeboy was dropping little clues throughout the whole thing. Okay? Straight up, if anyone has not read Earth 1, go read it now. The Earth 1 3 trade volume, 1 and 3 definitely play into elements of this story. He definitely pulled from that. I mean, he even said, like, during one of the interviews, like, this is a different Earth. Like, just flat out, like, trying to establish how this is not part of the continual DC films. Like, this is a different Earth. And he said a number, and a lot of times when they do that, they're just throwing something out. They don't, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about this film, is, like, you can't go into it expecting another Bale Batman or Keaton Batman or, whatever. Like, it is its own entity entirely, which is exactly what we needed. If we were going to get Batman, this is what we needed.
If you're going to do another Batman and you weren't going to do the Affleck solo film type thing, you had to find a way to detach and start again, but with something fresh.
Do you know how refreshing it is to me that we just watched a Batman film that wasn't all about the bells and whistles and the pretty stuff? Like, or the things that, like, make you go, "Oh, yeah!" And you want to stand up and clap.
Yeah.
Like, it was
a detective story.
It was. And we got to see him, like, develop into,
his character's got to grow.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This was such a great, like, foundational film for this version of Batman. And honestly, it might go down in my favorites. I'll be honest, mainly because of the storyline, the telling of everything, like the feeling of it. It felt gritty.
Yeah. It looked beautiful.
It was beautiful. I mean, God, one of my favorite visual aspects of the entire film was when he was holding up the flare, walking through the water, and everybody was following him. That was just, like, everything. That made the whole film for me. A little long, a little drawn out in some spots.
Yeah, I will say, he took his time.
Yeah.
And I mean that not just, like, from telling the story, but letting scenes go a little long. Not quick cutting.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's probably at least a good 20 minutes you might be able to trim out of this movie.
I'm sure.
I'm surprised that it is as long as it is for a theatrical release.
I think, though, if we did trim 20 minutes out of the movie, that we would be missing a lot.
I don't know, because some scenes, like the opening scene, like with the Riddler watching with the binoculars, you could trim some of that seconds. Like, we understand he's watching the father and son, like,
but he's establishing the relationship in that whole experience. He's establishing that this man, who seems like a good man, is very much so like Thomas Wayne even, we're making that connection in that beginning shot. If we know anything about the Waynes in particular, and I think that is awesome. So I disagree with you there.
Okay. I get what you're saying, and I agree with everything you just said.
I just also like some of the scenes where Pattinson, it's just fun to say.
It is fun to say.
He takes these pauses, or there's this drawn out silence between him and somebody else. Like, somebody asks a question and he's just quiet. Like, it's just so... It's what we've seen in comics. It's what you've seen in some of the video games and stuff that you've played, where Batman doesn't really respond. But we haven't really had a whole lot of time and space to show that in a film. So the fact that Matt Reeves, right?
Yep.
Was able to accomplish this, like, if you will, for lack of a better term, this breath, to allow that to sit in for us to experience, like, what everybody else experiences. Like, why isn't he answering this guy? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? Why is there dead quiet right now? But, like, that's a part of the character. And I'll be honest with you, I've never really thought about it. I've never really thought a whole lot, other than the fact that I think that Batman's trying to always keep up his appearance as to why, like, he doesn't answer people.
The mystery.
But tonight I was sitting there and I'm like, well, he doesn't want to have them hear his voice. Like, the less he talks, the less likely they're able to figure out who the heck he is.
It also just makes him always feel, like, mysterious.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Creepy.
It keeps up the hype,
Man, there's so many good shots of just, like, him moving around the police with...
Yeah, and it's cool because it's almost eerie. He just kind of blends into the darkness. Oh, see, that was part of my favorite. I'm just gonna go off. That was part of my favorite in the beginning too, when he was talking about they think that I'm in the darkness.
Yeah.
And creating that fear of from the criminals, like being afraid of Batman, being there, watching them. They see the symbol in the sky, and then they look into the dark corner, and then they stop what they're doing because they're terrified, and they think that he's right there. Gosh, that was like such presence that was created for the character. That once again, I feel like we've touched on all of these things in other movies. But we finally gave it breathing room to the point where we're able to actually feel what these people feel. I think that's the difference. I think that I felt this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. I'm like, there's just so much to process and go through with it.
That's what I'm saying, but as I'm talking, I'm, like, processing it, so...
Well, okay, so one thing I want to say before I forget is, I wonder if they alluded to Bruce taking... You said adrenaline, but being the comic junkie I am, I said, was it Venom that he took at the end, where he, like, got the strength to get up and beat the guy who was gonna kill Selina?
And also that he was kind of, like, out of his mind for a split second there, too.
Right.
When you said that, I was like, that could very well be the case. The color was right on track with Venom, too.
And it's been a while since I've read Batman Venom. This is the best Catwoman that we've got. She's
awesome.
She's awesome. I always feel like the 66 stuff kind of exists kind of in a vacuum, because for the most part, everyone in that show is really great for what they did, but also where the comics were at the time because of the comics code and everything. So it's really hard to compare that with those comics to what we have. So I'm looking like from there's a whole group that love Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, she's okay to me. I didn't like a lot of the creative decisions with her character. But man.
She was very Tim Burton.
Yeah, I mean, she was just straight up Tim Burton.
Yeah.
They did the daughter of Carmine Falcone.
Jeez, yeah.
They put in kind of the streetwalker-esseness, the rough beginnings, the hints at the Frank Miller-esque Catwoman. They just found a roundabout way of presenting Selina, and it worked.
It reminded me a little bit of the New 52 Catwoman as well. Like, basically, like, the thought process that she actually has some, like, humanitarian values to her, where she actually wants to help people that are in need, like, this girl that died.
Yep.
Anyanka or something like that.
Yeah, I want to say Anna, but it was a little bit more than that.
No, it was more than that. But anyway, she was,
Annika.
There it is. Yes. She kind of took her under her wing, you know what I mean? And tried to protect her and take care of her and stuff. And it reminded me of some of the things that I read in, like, the New 52 Catwoman comic. So it was nice to see that side of Selina as well. And I really loved that she wasn't, I don't know, she didn't have a bunch of opulence around her either. Which, once again, reminded me of the New 52. So, it was cool.
It was refreshing not to see the Waynes get murdered again. But,
yeah.
But if they had done it, I would have been okay with it. Because I feel like they would have done it kind of just in flashback, kind of cuts away. Like, I could see it, like, the way that, like, just have, like, the scene of, like, Pattinson kind of staring off, and like you just kind of do a close-up on his face. You flash to a scene, you flash back, and that's how you do it.
Well, it's been there, done that, and I feel like this film is literally like, what haven't you seen? Let's dig into what you haven't seen.
I will agree with that, but in some ways I feel like, and I quoted this to myself, that this is in some ways is the greatest hits Batman at the same time. When it comes to the action scenes, some of them, because like
Explain.
him sitting there getting shot like in the dark hallway as he's fighting, where like you,
I
that's very straight out of like the Dark Knight Rises when Catwoman and Batman are going down to find Bane.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
It actually reminds me of the Superman and Lois episode we just watched. Continue.
True. Well, like I've said, Tyler's Superman's the greatest hit Superman.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and this is one thing I didn't like, I didn't really like the whole Riddler calling out people to join him, and they're all dressed like Riddler, and with the shotguns and stuff, and, the way he takes them down, kind of reminiscence of the Dark Knight, when he has to take down the SWAT cops, and protect there to stop the Joker at the end.
Okay.
But, they talk about why the Riddler's look is like it is from an army surplus store, so they could all go buy
generic stuff.
The same generic stuff.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to complain about this movie. I really don't have anything bad to say. That didn't bother me.
Other than a little bit of the length. Just for sitting in the theater for that long. It's been a long time since I sat in the theater for that long.
Yeah.
I honestly would have liked more Paul Dano. Like, when he had the interrogation-esque scene with Batman.
Honey, who's Paul Dano?
The Riddler.
There we go.
Sorry.
Because not everybo's going to know who Paul Dano is.
My bad.
Just FYI.
These are my people. Like,
okay, well, if anybody like me is listening.
But I love that he's still alive.
Okay.
Like, they broke the trend of, like, killing a Batman villain or whatever. I like the build-up that he can return.
Oh, absolutely.
And, like, I want to see him return more in, like, I don't want to say traditional, but, like, more of the suit look.
This was chaos. Now, if he stays friends with the person that he made friends with at the very end, I could see how there might be some swag.
Well,
Riddler swag.
I feel like Matt Reeves
Or what do they call it now? Drip?
Matt Reeves is looking at, like you said, what hasn't been done? What are fans wanting?
Yeah.
What is sold really well in Batman? The Arkham games.
Yeah. Yes. And see, that was the thing is, as I'm sitting back and I'm watching this, there were so many elements to it that I was like, man, that reminds me of the game. Man, that reminds me of the game. Oh man, that kind of looks like that. This is gritty like the game. Like there were so many things.
I like the Bloodhaven drop.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. We had Penguin, who is Oz, and they called him the Penguin. I like that.
I really like his accent.
They didn't try to just dance around like, the Penguin.
And they didn't make him bird-like.
Right. He was great.
God.
So I just want to throw that out that it ends on almost a 0-year type beat from the comics of, we have this Gotham flood and issues with the city, and it's going to get worse. And so we have the Penguin, we have Catwoman, we have the Riddler, we have a friend in the cell. We have all this setup. And, this is Batman year, 2 or 3. So there is a little bit of a history of what he's been up to.
Yeah.
We see him as a really great detective. And, his Bruce Wayne, I'll say is good. But he's still forming the character.
I was going to say, for what we had, it was good. We had brooding, dark, almost emo-esque Bruce Wayne, but that makes sense for where this character is.
Exactly.
So it doesn't bother me. Yeah. Once again, I have nothing bad to say about this. I thought I would. I really wanted to try to enjoy it as much as I possibly could, and I think that I accomplished that. And I can't wait for film 2.
I will agree. I really want a sequel in this world. I'm more interested in... So, much like James Gunn got his little Peacemaker spin-off series...
Train.
There's literally a train. We're supposed to get a Gotham PD HBO Max series and a Penguin series. And after watching this, I want those. And I told you, the Gotham series would be an interesting place to bring in, Harvey Bullock, maybe Crispus Adams, Montoya, Flash. I don't know, any of the other, cop detectives that we've known from other Batman media would be really interesting.
Sure.
I liked Andy Serkis. I was not sure how I was going to feel. Mm-hmm. He's not in it that much, but they do enough to really set up where that relationship can go.
I really see the connection between him and Robert Pattinson's, Bruce. I see it, and I'm enjoying it so far, and I want to see more of it. What I really love is they didn't really make him the quintessential butler. He's literally there as a caretaker, / I would even say protector.
Well, it was also hinted at that he was head of, or Wayne Security or whatever, because he was it was my job to protect. They give us just enough to let us know where they are.
Yeah, he's the MI6.
But for us to ooh, okay, explore this.
I don't know. I'm really looking forward to more. Tyler was saying, guys, in the film, Tyler was like, well, I was really hoping to see this and this and this, and well, maybe we'll be able to see it again or something. And I looked at him and I was like, they gotta leave you wanting more.
Yeah, and that's what I talked about with Bullock.
I'm just giving you crap.
And I was like, you know what, you're right, Jim. You were totally right.
They gotta leave you wanting more. You gotta be hungry for more. So if they give you everything at once, you're going to be like, okay, that was a lot, first off. And the story within itself was a lot, so.
I really want, with the way Matt Reeves built this world and told this detective story and where this Bruce is, I want the Court of Owls in the sequel.
Yeah, I could see it. Maybe not the sequel.
I want them hinted at in the sequel.
I could see it in like a third or fourth film if they decided to go down that path.
I mean, it would be easy to be like, they all talked about like who controlled Gotham, you know?
Yeah, and Selena's line of like, it's never going to change.
Yeah, and you know, was there someone that helped feed Edward information?
And you know, what if the bird that Edward was talking about wasn't a falcon?
You mean the Falcon, the Penguin, the Batman, or an owl? Look, let me ask you this, because I need to watch this scene again. The way he does it, does Edward know that Batman's Bruce Wayne? Because at first it seems like it, but then it kind of feels like it doesn't.
He doesn't.
And it's the greatest riddle of all. And in the comics, the Riddler knows who Batman is. But it's the greatest riddle of all, and if he reveals the secret, it's not worth anything.
I think this is my theory, okay? I believe that he was looking at Batman as himself in a lot of ways. So he was projecting himself onto Batman. So he didn't really care who Batman was because he saw himself. And I can see it now that that tie between the two of them is broken, and you know, Edward's mind, that he would now become obsessed basically with who is Batman.
Because he also had such a disdain for Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
So it would cloud his judgment. Yep. But hey, good listeners and fans, you'll be hearing more from us. We just pulled up, and they'll be hearing more from me and Jania as the week progresses. Hey, we're going to press pause and hear a few words from our other podcasts on Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us and then listen in.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Remember to check out Krypton Report on all social media platforms. Go to linktree.com/Krypton Report. You find all of our information right there. And if you want to keep Krypton from exploding, join our $1 a month Patreon. That's right, for $1 a month, you'll get extra special content that you don't get on the main show, like movie commentaries and whatever else comes out of our mouths. So check it out, patreon.com/Krypton Report. Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast, dedicated to all things DC Comics with a strong focus on Superman, Supergirl, and the planet Krypton. We discuss movies, TV, games, and of course comics. I'm your host, Tyler, the Superman of Blue, the Man of Tomorrow. Wait, I read the wrong fucking thing. Hold on. 20 seconds. Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast, now part of the Press Play Podcast Network. We are dedicated to all things related to DC Comics with a strong focus on Superman and all things Kryptonian. We discuss movies, TV shows, games, and of course comics. I'm your host, Tyler, the Superman of Blue, the Man of Tomorrow. And with me, as always, is my other half, the Superman of Red, the Man of Steel himself, James Mother Cole. But today, ironically, we're not focusing on Superman. We're focusing on the Batman. Or as my kids like to say because of the cartoon, the Batman. Yes, the Batman movie that is directed by Matt Reeves and stars Robert Pattinson. And just came out last week. So we have a lot to go. We've been kind of counting down to this in a way. You know, we've been doing our prep with all of our Bat rewatches and discussions. We have a few more left for this month. I'm sitting here as we're recording looking at my toy of the Penguin and my Batman figure here. But yeah, hey, so before we kind of
the McFarlane figures or?
Heck yeah, the McFarlane figures.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm just going to say this. One, I like the Oz look, but the figure, it's very bulky. Like his trench coat's one mat of plastic. His legs barely move. His arms like move and articulate, but like it's just kind of it looks good, but it's just not as much of a figure. Like he didn't come with an umbrella or anything, which he didn't have in the movie, which is kind of depressing. But he's cool. Solomon got the Riddler and figure from McFarlane, and I just didn't feel like buying Catwoman. I don't know. But before we get into this, let's take a quick look back, shall we? Let's do a quick recap of some events that led to this film. February 2017, Matt Reeves is announced as director of The Batman, currently the solo Affleck movie. And then blah, 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 blah. May 2019, Pattinson is announced as the new Batman. And that, you know, we had gotten earlier in May that it was going to be no longer the Ben Affleck film. Pattinson is going to be the new Batman. It's a solo standout. And then in June of 2020, we get our first trailer. Here we are in March of 2022. Because of COVID, it was a 14-month shoot, wrapping on March 12th, 2021. The release dates originally was June 25th, 2021. The original. Pushed to 10/1/21, which was when we were really psyched, a Batman movie that starts at Halloween in the fall, the day before Jania's birthday. Yeah. And then finally, here we are, March 4th, 2022. Rotten Tomatoes has it sitting at an 85% critics with a 90% audience. IMDb has it as an 8.6 out of 10. And as of when I put my notes together, it had the estimated at 120 million domestic, 248 worldwide, but that number has gone up.
I saw 134 million.
So it's doing quite well for itself. I got two.
I love you.
I love you. Good night, Sayla. That's right. The kids are going to bed. I got two viewings. The first, which is just Jania and I. The second was Brian, me, and Solo in the theater that forgot to turn on the air. So that was not fun. So that's the quick background of just how we led to this. How many viewings did you get in, James?
I've only gotten to see it once. Saturday morning.
And I mean, that's great. It's just the thing about this movie is anytime you have a movie that's long, just starting to carve out the time gets to be more hard if you're going for a theatrical experience. And so as we go through this, we're going to kind of break it down by character and stuff. And we're going to kind of use our scorecards to kind of help with our, we're going to pull back and reference our scorecards as we talk about the characters. But I want to ask you, which comic influences did you see in this film? I know ones that people have said, but what have you seen? What did you see a lot of?
I mean, I saw some Earth 1 stuff. I saw some No Man's Land. 0 year.
So when I'm looking at, of course, there's a little bit of Long Halloween style of like the mystery, and it starts on Halloween. There's a little bit of the year one, 0 year for sure, with Riddler and kind of the way it ends. Ego, with the psychology of Bruce, and Earth One. Like, I think there's a very, very strong Earth One that a lot of people aren't noticing, or maybe haven't read it and giving the credit to that it deserves. But yeah, there's a very strong Earth One.
It's been so long since I read Earth One, Volume 1 and 2. And
I just
only
reread 1,
read
2, and 3. I just read all 3 of them last week, or 2 weeks ago. I reread them all. I had a feeling.
So there's some more things, fresh in your mind about it.
The Arkham series games and the Telltale games.
Yes.
And then we'll kind of point out, and with the Long Halloween, there's also the Tim Sales, Jeff Lowe that sometimes gets lumped in, which is the When in Rome. So I'm going to throw that out there, and we'll talk about that as we get there. So we're going to kind of be bouncing all over the place. Like, there's a lot to digest in this movie, and we'll try to hit as much as we can. And I don't think that this will be our only time referencing and mentioning it. It'll probably be what we think. So I'll go first on things, and I'll just jump to because there's not a lot. So I'll say what I didn't like. Okay? And we'll talk about that real quick, and then we'll go into what we did like, okay? Sound good?
Yeah, I mean, sure.
James is like, shut up, Tyler. Just talk. Dive
into the movie. Whether the stuff you like or to me, there's a lot more to like than there was to dislike.
And that's why I'm doing dislikes first.
So, quite a bit more,
And
I mean, I enjoyed it.
And this is definitely a spoiler review, people. So, we both enjoyed it there. We liked it. Go see it for yourself. And other than that, here we go. Spoilers. Like Solomon. Solomon's become a little great commentator. For those of you that listen to this whole episode, we'll get a special recording with Solomon. And you'll get one with Jania as well. So here we go. All right. Dislikes. I feel like it was too long, first of all. It was almost 3 hours, and I feel like the length kind of hurts it because the pacing is not slow, but it's steady. It's not quick cutting. The scenes breathe. The editing allows for the scenes to breathe. And I think as much as I enjoyed everything, you kind of start to feel the time. So I really think you could trim a good 20 minutes out of this movie. I wish the Riddler had gotten a little bit more play in the film. It's like he's there and then disappears. I think some of the edits go too long. I like the Riddler being a little creepy, but you could have cut some stuff. In all honesty, like, I understand like the art and you wanting to get a point across. But for me as an adult audience, if you would have, like in the opening scene where the Riddler comes up and hits the dude in the back of the head, if you would have just cut the black and then had him stretching the duct tape, would have got the same point to me than watching him beat the dude in the head. Because, I'm not going to go on a whole tangent here, but you are marketing this movie to kids also.
And as much as the film was awesome and Solomon was okay, he did say like the Riddler was really scary. And he's pretty good about things. So that's what I'm just going to kind of say is because, yes, like I saw someone say, this is not for kids. Just let them watch The Brave and the Bold. And I'm like, yeah, but not every kid is like, loves the goofy, campy Batman. Like my kids can't watch 66. They're bored. They love seeing a real life Batman. And this whole thing has been so thrilling to them with like the toys, going to the store and seeing everything that I still think you need to keep a little bit that kids will see this in mind. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's see here. I said, yes, the movie is PG-13, but so is every Marvel and every other DC film. So just keep that kind of in your mind. We did get our one F word in it. That was funny.
Right.
And I totally forgot about it until I saw it the second time. Like, oh yeah, now that I care, I let my kids watch the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, I watched it. I saw it and I was like, oh, that's the only one in the movie.
And then I did think that the title card was just bland. Like it was like Warner Brothers, the Batman. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I guess it's stylistic, but also like I kind of feel like after the Riddler killed the dude, it could have been like the Batman. But like it just kind of drops like boom, the Batman. Like, oh yeah, that's what you're seeing. But that's really my biggest dislikes. And as we go through the rest of this, I don't want to say, oh, I called it, but I told you this was going to be a greatest hits Batman movie. Like it was going to be a Batman remix. So for everyone out there pointing out oh, that's just like it was in this or just like this. Yeah, they're taking all the best from all the other Batman iterations and blending it into one. So, because there has been a lot of comparison to The Dark Knight. And I'm not going to break it down by everything that's similar. So that was my dislikes. What were your dislikes, James?
Mostly still just some of the aesthetic. A lot of it looked great. Like the bat suit looked a lot better in motion and in use in the movie, but it's still not my favorite kind of Batman suit. There were some cool things about it, and we'll talk about that too. Kind of how down to earth and gritty. I had no problem with, the violence and the scary because, the most grotesque thing they did was the thumb drive joke. And I had a good laugh.
Dude, that was hilarious.
That was absolutely hilarious.
You like thumb drive.
Yeah. And then he uses the thumbprint. This guy's hilarious. That was mostly it. I like long movies. I love long movies. There's not. And I think there could have been also a little more action sequences.
Yeah, I think
like the car chase scene, the way they used the camera. So it was really awesome the way they used it, but that was the way the whole thing was. Like it was all from POV, from the car, from down low, looking back down low from the car, right off of the side of the hood, looking at Batman's face and at Penguin's face, and they didn't open up. You didn't get to see.
There was no wide establishing shot, so we really got to see.
You didn't get to see the grand chase,
right? And
at all.
And here's one thing I'm going to ask you that I didn't think about till later. How much, if any, do you think COVID impacted this film as far as what they plan to shoot and do?
Oh, it's hard to say because it was shot all
Exactly.
over in the UK
But they
and
shut down
Glasgow and stuff.
twice because they shut down for COVID, then they started back up. Then Pattinson got COVID, and they started back up. You know, so it just kind of makes me think like, what were some things that they had planned maybe that they couldn't do or pull off? I don't know. It's just a thought. Like they're maybe, but you know, not having some wide establishing shots on things like the car chase bothers me because that's part of the grandioseness. Grandiose. I don't know. I'm tired of of the whole scene idea in the first place.
Right. And then like the squirrel suit. I mean, like there wasn't a whole lot that I didn't like. Like, so a combination of some things I liked, like even though they use like the squirrel suit and they use some like real life type gadgets in a way, you know, not all of them were like the contact lenses and stuff, but, the way that they just existed and there was no need to explain them. They just happened. They were there and they just happened. There wasn't, oh, I need this for this. I need this for that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's weird because
But like through the flying, you know, it was all like the views that they had were really awesome. The way it was shot, him coming off the building and flying through, but there were still no wide shots of him like flying through the street.
You know, a lot of it is, think about this. This is a Batman movie. And I say
and that's my favorite part about this movie.
He spends most of his time in the suit. And that's probably one of the good things about this suit is it does look more comfortable than any other bat suit. The other thing is, and I thought there's really no character interactions that doesn't involve Batman. The ones I can think of.
And that's the reason why you don't get as much Riddler as we were hoping for, because it's only through his interactions with Batman is why you see him, and keeping him hidden was part of that.
We see the opening kill, and then
that's really one of the few times you actually see Riddler being front and center without Batman. You know, I mean, he's got his videos, but Batman's watching them.
Yeah, and then Jania said the Falcone and Catwoman scene when Batman's trying to get to her is another like large kind of set piece that didn't have him in it. And then, you know, even when the Riddler kills Gil, Batman and Catwoman just kind of left the area. So, I mean, other than that, like, and that was it's not an issue, but we'll get to a bit more. One of my things about Gordon is we never got to experience Gordon outside of just being next to Batman. So, like, we don't know about Gordon, like, is he married in this? Is he divorced and second married? Does he have kids? What does it look like him working, you know, when Batman's not around? We didn't get that kind of character development with Gordon because everything is so much from Batman's perspective. Even some of our other characters that we'll get to. So it's interesting. You know, that's a different approach. It's definitely, you know, the noir detective story approach. It's refreshing and kind of like, oh yeah, interesting. But it's also how even like, I'm just going to say this, okay? I'm going to say this real fast. And I got it typed out because, okay, I typed it out because I was bored. Hold on. All right. Where is it? I said seeing the film a second time really helped on a lot of things because the film is so long and so much going on, it's easy to forget. Things remembered, certain beats of the story, and how it all tied together and aligned. It helps when the pace is going. And and I say this, as someone who would like to have seen the solo Affleck film and experience his Batman with a new angle of the road-worn Batman. What I found refreshing with the whole Ben Affleck Batman and what we liked was it was a jump in the future. It was going to a place with Batman that we have never been, where he's already been Batman for a long time and there's a whole history and we can move forward, backward, and throw any character out there. And we really wouldn't need that much of an explanation. And that's what excited me about that film. Now, so I'm saying that because at the same time, this film feels good because we're getting away from a lot of the toxicness that has happened from Snyder lovers. And like I said, this is a greatest hits Batman. And even though there's certain beats in here, I feel like this still feels a little refreshing, even though there's a lot of repeated story beats with this. Because I feel like there's a lot that gets beholden to with an early Batman story. So, all right, your turn. Talk.
Well, my favorite thing is my favorite thing about it is it is a Batman movie. You know, it is mostly all from Batman's perspective. He's in the cowl more than he's not. You know, like I said, the suit looks better in the movie than it did in the marketing.
Yeah, it does. And I really like what I say is I like the waist up.
Yeah, but the full, I don't know about the full on taking bullets, like having all this armor and bullets bouncing off and stuff.
This was my headcanon because in my headcanon, the armor is strong and the machine guns were only like 22s. Okay, so these these machine guns are 22 caliber shooting, and they're missing too. So it just looks like
grazing off and stuff.
That's why when he gets hit by a shotgun, he gets his bell rung.
Yeah, I kind of like the collar of it. It was kind of like Gotham by Gaslight or
Dude,
Batman anime with the collar.
I have come to love the collar. Watch, like, it gives his neck a different look. It lets the head move, and everything. Because one thing that I love is the way he moves as Batman. If you watch the way he moves in and out of shots, around people, just the way he carries himself and moves as Batman is awesome.
You know, the time he spent with Jim Gordon, they go to the crime scene and he's just scanning the crime scene. He's got those cool little lenses and he's looking at everything. And what's awesome is like the detective noir story is he's watching the recordings like endlessly, just examining everything over and over and over again.
That is really cool. Like, just the way to do it. Reeves, I feel like Reeves sat with a blender. He put every Batman film and even Todd Phillips' Joker into a blender, hit, destroy, hit it, and then dumped out what was there and put his movie together. And I don't say that in a bad way or like you didn't do anything. I did it in a way that he was able to kind of make everything feel like it all worked together. And what I find really fascinating is the more I think about it is how much Reeves likes Batman 66 and paid homage to it without being campy.
Yeah, he did, and I like that, the way Batman was surrounded by cops, the way he worked with Gordon, and then the arc he had, going from vengeance, learning to the learning about the effect that he's having on Gotham, and that's going to be what's driving him forward. Is how he's affecting Gotham. Like Riddler thought they were working together, and they use the name that people call him because they call him Vengeance.
Yeah, hold that thought about them working together. We're going to get back around to that in a minute. But no, like, also, the main 4 villains that are in Batman 66, Matt Reeves finds a way to reference them all. He brings Batman back to a car that in the front grille reminds me a little bit of 66. He pays homage to the Batphone and to the Shakespeare statue. So, I thought that was pretty smart of him. Like, a way of referencing it without being campy. Everyone else just goes straight to, like, the camp. And I'm like, good job, Mr. Reeves. Good job. I'm just going to throw this out there. Man I interviewed last year, Sean O'Connell, for the Real podcast on Cinema Blend. They just dropped an episode where they interview Matt Reeves. I'm getting ready to check it out. So just if anyone wants to hear it from the horse's mouth, check that out.
Awesome. I have no familiarity with any of Matt Reeves' work. I know a lot of the movies. I've been told a lot of the movies that he's directed, and I've actually wanted to see like every single one of them. Just never worked out that way with everything that's out there. So I've never seen one of his films. So just watching this, a lot of I like his directing style, his cinematography, the way he works with his DOP, the way he structures a film, letting a lot of the story unfold visually as well as the dialogue and character interactions. So for it being my first Matt Reeves film, yeah, he makes a hell of a film. I was impressed.
Let's see. I love Cloverfield. I've seen that a lot because it's one of my favorite found footage films. It's in my top 3 favorite found footage films. That's a lot of similar sounding words. I watched Let Me In. I've seen it twice because my roommate in college loved the original Swedish version of Let the Right One In, and he was obsessed with it. And I watched the Matt Reeves Americanized version, which made some tweaks to the story. And I was like, okay. And then I've seen his 2 Apes movies, but I've only watched them each once. So I've not really studied Reeves' work. So that's just
so like characters, Turturro was he was really good as Falcone. He was not over the top at all. He just he had the subtlety of his performance, and like everybody he was in power and everybody knew it.
I have a love-hate with Turturro's Falcone, and that's nothing to do with him. It's because I just have. It's one of those things where I've just gotten so used to John Turturro in comedy because my dad and brother were obsessed with "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," that it's very hard for me to break away from hearing him as Pete. And I know he's done a lot of dramatic work. He's worked with the Coens, and of course he was in what do you call it? The Big Lebowski, and then I think about Lady Killers and Secret Window and stuff. So I mean, he's done a lot of great things, and there's a lot more too. But it's still very hard for me to not hear and see him as comedic. But I think one thing that did really help is he always had sunglasses on.
Yeah.
And I did like that how they did the mob. That Oz is set up in a way, but yeah, he was good to be really more of the Italian mobster, that Carmine should be, compared to what we've got. Like, I didn't like Falcone on Gotham. He was great in Batman Begins, but I didn't feel the Italianism of the monster. But yeah.
Penguin, that,
So
I mean, he's unrecognizable as Colin Farrell.
So real quick, Penguin, we're going to blend in our scorecard as we do this. So Colin Farrell as the Penguin, my rating is a 9.5. Jania's is an 8. Solomon gave him a 9. Sayla just randomly picked numbers. She wanted to be a part of things. So, but she gave him a 1. But,
she just doesn't like the Penguin. That's all.
she just wanted to be part of things. She hasn't watched it. I'm gonna watch bits and pieces with her once it hits HBO. So now we got those. What would you rate his Penguin?
9.5. He wasn't in the movie a whole lot, but his performance was fantastic. The acting all around in this movie, I think everybody killed it. Everybody nailed it.
The casting was great. There's no one in this movie that I would change the casting of. I'm just going to say that. There's no one like, they could have got someone better. No,
but Colin Farrell's Penguin, I mean, the prosthetics for one, physically you cannot tell. Only the eyes. That's it. Only the eyes. And, his voice, his mannerisms. Yeah, he's a pretty awesome character, and I love the way, he was so cocky. He was inside. The way Batman came in the club, I mean, talk about that. He knocks at the door.
Dude,
he comes in the front door.
One of my favorite lines is from the Penguin, and it's so small, but it's the delivery, it's the line, is when Batman gets in the pictures and he's like, what's she doing with the mayor? He goes, is that the mayor? Oh shit, it is! Like,
yeah.
Just like I don't even care. Like, I'm playing dumb.
He's dealing drugs right in front of him.
I mean, he is great. I'm really excited for the series that we're supposed to get.
And I think the movie sets it up real nice for the series to be about him taking power in Gotham.
Yes,
during the rebuild and
that was my exact thought. Is like, it better be about him rising to power and becoming the Penguin. And I think a plot that could be interesting to explore is how, as he rises, he kind of refines himself. He starts to become more of the gentleman Penguin a little bit here and there. Redoes his club, maybe a little bit more fancy. And everything. The Iceberg Lounge makes it a little bit more of the lounge.
Yeah, less nightclub.
Yeah, like, so I was not
at least his area of the nightclub. You know what I'm saying? Like his office and stuff. At least his office and stuff be a little more sophisticated.
I'm glad they called him the Penguin. Like, that's the one thing I love, that it wasn't like they just called him Oz or Oswald. Like, he calls himself Oz. That's fine. But, maybe the next one he wants to be called Oswald. But they call him the Penguin. Solomon was not a big fan of the scars on his face. And I was okay with them. And I felt like it helped with the prosthetics and the makeup to make it believable. But yeah, what did you think of the scars?
I mean, noticeable. I don't know. I just assumed the way that this guy came up, he got some scars along the way.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I mean, I think this penguin is hard, you know?
Yeah. More, to me, this penguin's more in line with the Arkham games. Not a one-to-one.
Certainly, and I think a little less of the, well, I don't know. I mean, he did take off, but he did come out shooting, you know what I mean? And then he took off running and got chased down by the car.
Yeah, to me, if it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, and I feel like this is more of where he comes from, is like the Arkham game style.
Yeah.
All right, next character. We'll just kind of do Alfred, Andy Serkis. Scorecard for me, a 7. Jania, a 7. Solomon, a 1. Your turn.
I hadn't really thought about it, but I'm thinking about a 6.5. He wasn't in it that much. What he did and what he said was, you know, kind of impactful. I liked their interactions. Not my favorite Alfred, but certainly not enough to make a. I liked him, but didn't steal the show.
I liked him. And I think part of it's because he wasn't in it that much. But having recently reread the Earth 1 series and seeing they pulled a lot of Alfred from that Alfred, it really helped me appreciate his Alfred more. I look forward to seeing more of what he can do and where they take him.
Well, certainly part of it might have been he was shooting, or he had to direct Venom, so Venom 2.
Venom. But I mean, you know, he had worked with Matt Reeves. Like, out of the 5 Matt Reeves movie, Andy Serkis is in 3 of them now. So, and he's a great actor. So
hey, that's a good working relationship.
Exactly. So I look forward to seeing more of what he has to bring. But I don't hate it.
I mean, you know, and with Alfred in this movie, I like how we get the other way of how the Waynes possibly got murdered.
Right. You know, I love his speech about
was it a random event? Did Maroni have something to do with it? Like Falcone says, does Falcone have something to do with it? Like Alfred suspects.
Exactly.
Like they leave it up to at least 3 different scenarios.
And the thing about that I like is it plays with all the, is it a conspiracy? Is it random? And Alfred saying, like, I've spent my life trying to figure this out. And I think what could be interesting is if in the second one you do a flashback with Alfred and you learn a little bit more about the night and you kind of tell the origin from Alfred's point of view. So you don't see the Waynes die, but like you kind of see the before when they're leaving, and then when Alfred first shows up on the scene to get Bruce. You know, something a little bit different than what we've seen before. But, all right. Gordon.
What rankings you got over there for Gordon?
All right. Mr. Jeffrey Wright is Gordon. I gave him an 8.5. Jania gave him an 8, and Solomon gave him an 8.
Oh, I give him an 8. Especially the way they were in the interrogation room after the bomb went off and killed the DA. And he's like, you're gonna have to hit me.
He's like, he's like, how am I gonna do that? Punch me in the face.
Yeah. He's like, they'll know. He's like, not if you punch me in the face.
I just like when he's like, "Do you trust him?" He's like, "I trust you." He's like, "And I trust you."
Yeah,
So,
that was really good.
so I like that they have this relationship already.
Yeah.
And
you know, I'm glad that they don't.
I don't
You
want
know
to
what
see it
they
all start from the
see.
beginning again.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I don't
don't
want
like
to.
it. I don't need to see it all from the beginning, but I just like the way that in this movie everything goes the way it goes, the way everything is there. Like this masked vigilante working with Lieutenant Gordon, coming to crime scenes full of cops, you know, being inside of the police station basically, and you know, he's being touched, but he's assaulting officers, and he's still able to you know, get out of there and work just the way he does. And like I said, the way that all the gadgets are there, there's no explaining away any of it. And, you know, you don't need to.
I agree. So, and like I said, my only thing was we never got Gordon outside. So I want to know more about him. And that's kind of what's holding me back on. But I love that this movie has so much of Gordon in it, in a working relationship with Batman.
Well, I think we're probably going to get some more Gordon in the Penguin show. We get to see more of an expanded universe of that Gotham and that groupings of characters, but from outside of Batman's point of view.
Yeah. I was going to say, crap, you may forget. Oh, well. Like the fact that the bat signal right now is not at police headquarters. It's in a building that's being basically never finished construction.
Which is actually really cool, because in the last one of the last Batman storylines, Bruce had invested heavily into Gotham, and there are a lot of buildings that are partially built.
And that goes back to the MacGuffin of this movie about the renewal fund that Thomas Wayne had set up to help build Gotham. That basically the whole point of this is all this money is supposed to help the city that the mob and has been using as bribe money and all this to drug launder and all this stuff over the years, because no one was overseeing it, because part of the big Bruce Wayne arc is that he doesn't do anything as Bruce Wayne. It's all Batman. He's not keeping his eye on his company at all. And I think that'll play into a sequel.
Yeah, I think the fact of what effect is he having on Gotham, I think, you know, that's the driving force of his perception as Batman, but also what he can do as Bruce Wayne as a businessman, which will in turn help further his goals as Batman.
So let me ask you this. What did you just think of Gotham? Like, what would you rate Gotham as the city? I gave it a 10, Jania a 9, Solomon a 4. But what did you
I'm right
think
with you.
of...
I'm right with you. It's a 10.
This is my favorite Gotham City.
Yeah, very dirty, very big
old
city.
And it just feels it feels gothic and different to us because it is not American City.
Yeah, it feels gothic and modern at the same time. You know?
And it feels real.
Yeah. Gotham is awesome. I mean, the billboards, because even though it's a dark city and it's always raining, there is always lights, you know? It's a city. It's beaming with street lights and neon and all this other stuff. And not Joel Schumacher neon.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, Gotham was awesome. A 10.
All right. What do you think about the score? That's kind of one we can knock out quickly here.
I loved the music. I love the score. There's a lot there. I did get a little tired of the repetitive dum, da, dum, dum.
And that's why I didn't give it a 10. I gave it an 8. Jania gave it an 8. Solomon gave it a 9. And then Sailor randomly gave it a 10.
I mean, the score was great. In the movie, the way it fits, but the fact that the movie is so long, the score just got very repetitive.
Right. And I mean, I've listened to half of the score as of right now. And it does do that. And I think that's similar even with the Zimmer score, is certain things repeat, but it's just the way it's laid out in the film. But yeah, I really
But also
like
when you theme characters and characters are reoccurring, then
right.
You
I would
get
have liked
that.
It's a big kind of almost gothic score. Like I would almost like if in a sequel do a little bit more of a gothic style score. Look at the Mask of the Phantasm score and even Danny Elfman's Wolfman, which was inspired by the score for Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is very gothic style of music. Could be interesting. Is all I'm saying.
So I've only heard the score with the movie. I haven't listened to the score. I don't have the score. The Riddler song. Sorry, I was kind of I lost my train of thought.
Like,
the Riddler song. I knew I had heard like parts of it before, and how they have hints of Ave Maria in there that he's singing. I was like, oh, that makes total sense.
And it does, like when the movie starts, but there's also one more thing to it that we will get to that I will hit on here in a moment. About why I think that's important. I have yet to read the prequel novel. I wanted to. I've heard that it works better after you see the movie because it gives a lot away in the movie. I was going to just buy it, and it was sold out on Amazon, and I didn't find it at Walmart or Target.
Oh man.
Yeah, so it must be hot stuff.
Right.
So let's just go ahead and talk Paul Dano's The Riddler then, since we're here. I gave him an 8, Solomon an 8, Jania an 8. First of all, I do think they made him a little too creepy at times. Like I said earlier about, I think how it could have been cut and trimmed. He was very much a Jigsaw Zodiac, type killer. But at the same time, in the latter part of the movie, when Dano really got to act, he did bring the character to life.
Oh, majorly.
His outfit suit made a little bit more sense when you figure out what his plan is all along. Because he made it so that all these, I mean, we're spoiling it, copycat people could go buy the exact same thing. So they could all dress like the Riddler to attack at the end. So that made sense. Question for you, his white glasses, did it make you think of Jim Carrey's Riddler, the white glasses?
No.
This is part of that whole mixing up Batman remix.
So you know what? I didn't really think about so the only glasses I have a hard time picturing the glasses he has before he goes Riddler. You know?
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time picturing those because the ones afterwards, he just gets the same glasses as Bruce.
Yeah,
probably expensive ass frames and stuff, you know,
like 90 grand.
Right.
Just the frames made of plastic,
solid gold frames with 18 karat gold hinges and crap.
Yeah, probably. You know,
right.
But, all right. I think.
I mean, him out of the mask is like a 9.5, you know? But as an overall character, I'd have to, give it an 8. Mostly because of the look. It knocks it down a little bit. Overall, I don't know. I loved how scary he was. I loved how he was like a combination of Jigsaw and the Zodiac Killer. The overall plan. I mean, I guess the only flaw with the Riddler character is when it comes down to it in the end, it's Batman against Riddler fanatics, not the Riddler. Yeah. The Riddler has a plan that goes off without a hitch, but the Riddler is in Arkham, and I know he's there because it's safe from the flooding and everything.
Arkham State Hospital, by the way, which is an Earth 1 thing. Just throwing it out there.
All right, cool.
And, okay, so let's talk about the Riddler. This whole movie thinks that basically sees Batman as his ally, as somebody he's working with. He thinks they're the same. He talks about how I know you. When you put the mask on, that's the real you. You should have seen me in my mask. That was the real me. It freed me. And because as soon as Batman really says, you're sick, you're a psycho, and all this, and you see the Riddler snap, and he starts screaming, no, this is not how it was supposed to go. That's a big change for him. And I think it's at that point that we could, because first of all, he lives. I'm so happy all the villains live. Except Falcone. F that guy. He lives, and I think that helps set up for him to return to be more of the Riddler. Because I thought to myself, like, Batman really didn't get to solve the mystery as much as he started putting pieces together as things and clues were revealed. Like, he solved the clues, but he didn't stop the Riddler per se. Like, the Riddler let himself get caught because he was thinking him and Batman were working together.
Yeah, so he didn't actually stop him, take him down. Oh man, now I lost my train of thought.
I'm also just want to say I'm glad they didn't use the term dark web for Riddler's message. One of my favorite scenes is when they do unlock his secret message on his webcast to like his followers, and he's just like, "Hey guys, it's me. How's it going?"
Yeah, was great.
Thank you for all the it's just a complete change from everything else we saw. So that was hilarious. Now let me ask you a question. And I asked this to Brian, and he answered differently, and then I had to explain it to you. Do you think the Riddler knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne?
I don't think so. I think because the fact that, if they were using the Long Halloween storyline, is that one or is it something else?
Hush.
Yes, Hush. Yeah. It's like, I know I'm getting something confused.
You're like, it's Jeff Loeb.
Right. The Hush story, I think that the reference, that the way it was marketed,
Janine and I talked about this, was it plays out that he knows. But then when he says, we almost got him, Bruce Wayne, he got away. And then he keeps talking. You realize he didn't put it together. And I think he will. I think if you look at it, he was so obsessed with thinking that Batman was just like him and hating Bruce Wayne that he couldn't see that they could be the same. But now that he's seen that Batman's against him, he'll put it together and hate Batman even more.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. I don't think so. I think, and the subtlety of Pattinson in that scene where every time he says Bruce Wayne, he just kind of the corner of his mouth just shakes a little bit. You know, like every time he says Bruce Wayne, like he's sure that he knows who he is.
Because he even says it weird, as if he's trying to say it so that he's acknowledging you're Bruce Wayne, and the camera doesn't pick up his mouth.
Yeah. It's just he's in the shadow, so he doesn't give anything away, and when it's revealed he's not, he just has a rush of relief.
Because we find out that Edward Nashton was an orphan in the orphanage that was Wayne Manor. They donated Wayne Manor to be an orphanage to the city, and they lived in Wayne Tower in the city. Okay, there's a change up, but it's still remixing things we had seen before. And when the Waynes died, so the Waynes come and they announce that they're running for mayor. And I'm thinking that when they announce it or whatever, the kids sang Ave Maria. Because he talks about singing it, and that's why he sings. He's obsessed with that song. And then when the Waynes died, the renewal fund never went to the orphanage, and the orphanage like had a fire and it burnt down partially.
Bills weren't paid. Heat was off.
Right. It just was left to ruin. And because Edward talks about the orphan, the billionaire orphan, Bruce Wayne, how everyone's like, oh, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, poor Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne got billions.
Real orphans who had nothing.
Yeah. I mean, a loss is a loss. An orphan is an orphan, but a billionaire orphan doesn't have the worries
but he
in
also
their life of an actual orphan, especially ones in Gotham who everything is taken from them when the Waynes are killed.
And Bruce also had Alfred. No matter what, he wants to fight about it or whatever. He did have Alfred. And that's part of, I think, his story is, once again, realizing more importantly that he did have Alfred.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I mean, that made the Riddler really effective. Okay, moving on. I want to ask you a question. Did the Batmobile stall out at first when he revved it up in the scene?
I don't think so.
It feels like he was like, either he was trying to intimidate.
I think he was trying to intimidate when he kind of like jerked forward at him. He was basically like, all right, come on, get in your car. Let's do this. Let's let's cause countless, instead of having to chase you, let me intimidate you in chasing you down so we can cause countless dollars in property damage.
So what did you think about the Batmobile? We'll do it real quick.
So the Batmobile, so as a score, I would have to, I give it a 5. The look, the aesthetic, I appreciate it that it's a car and it can do a lot of, really cool things. But it doesn't look like the Batmobile. But the sound of it, man, does it sound amazing. It's intense, the chase scene is very kinetic and very intense.
Well, I'll give you the breakdown. I gave it an 8.5. Junia with a 9, Solomon and Salo with a 10. I've come to really enjoy it. Even though it is a little bit more of just a souped up muscle car, I'm liking it more and more. I would have liked more of it in the film,
See, that's what I do love about it is the its position in the film, being under the tarp, seeing the parts, you see the timing chain, you see the spark plugs and the rings and all kinds of stuff. Like, him and Alfred have been building that, and that's pretty awesome. And then you get the reveal of it. It's fantastic.
I think, like, from the back, I like the back. But then when you see it from the front, it looks more just regular car.
So I give it a 5 because just as a Batmobile, I don't know, it's not what I would think as a Batmobile, but it was awesome.
But it feels more like a Batmobile than the Tumbler does.
Yes.
So.
Well, I don't think I like the Tumbler very much. I don't think I even scored it very high.
So. All right. So now we're going to jump back to character.
Okay, well, if I have to revise it, I'd have to put the Tumbler down as like a 5.5, and I'd give this Batmobile a 6 or 6.5.
All right,
so,
James.
I'm going to have to change my scorecard a little bit.
So Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman. I gave her a 9. Jania a 9. Solomon gave her a 10. Sayla a 4. I do like, first of all, I thought she did really great. She has a way of hitting on the different angles. Her mask was okay. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. But it gives her somewhere to go, and it works just well. It was a little bit more, I love Anne Hathaway's goggle cat ear things, but I feel like this is just a little bit more straight Catwoman. And she had the whip. And I feel like they did a great job of developing Selena, Catwoman, much more of like, she did a little bit more burglary, even though she wasn't stealing diamonds or anything as much as what we saw. She was still, burglarizing.
She broke into a safe just to get a passport.
Right. And that was because she was, working to help her friend. So, we have places to go, but she still feels real. The only line I didn't really care for was the white privileged assholes line. Because I feel like that's just so much of the time. But it was whatever.
Well, also, you see her working in a mob bar and you've got the commissioner, the mayor, the DA in his office, and all those people down there getting high and drinking and sleeping with prostitutes. Like it, and they have it all and control of the city.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I get it, but
yeah.
I liked her. It's hard to say what my favorite Catwoman is, but it's kind of, I inch her up a little bit because she's a little bit more true to character than Anne Hathaway was.
Right. You can have a favorite iteration, but they are all so great.
Yeah.
You can't discount any one because of another.
The 66 stuff works, and they're hard to pair against because it was such a different era. But I've never been a huge fan of Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. So it's yeah. Anyways, what else? I like that she's Falcone's daughter in this, and she's trying to help her friend. And we get, because of her, it helps Batman push towards finding out more things at the club. Him and her partner, they use the lenses, to investigate the camera lenses. We meet, the DA, Gilliam, and, because of her phone, we get the Carmine murdering Annika. And it worked well. And, the way that it ends, where she's headed to Bloodhaven, maybe. So.
At least a stop through in Bloodhaven, but, we're a little supposed to be a little too early in the time of anybody else being over there in Bloodhaven.
Except for maybe like Brick or the Whale or what, Tobias Whale or something.
Yeah.
I will say that as dark as this world feels and as real as it feels, it still feels comic book. And I could see Matt Reeves doing Robin. And they hint at with the fact that the son of the mayor sees his dad. He's the one that finds his murdered father. And Bruce, as Batman, pays attention to the kid. Then Bruce, as Bruce, pays attention to the kid. And then he saves him at the funeral memorial for the mayor. And then the fact the kid is the one that takes Batman's hand at the end when he's trying, because everyone's afraid of Batman. We're going to get more to Batman here next. Shows me that Bruce has that eye. So the idea that something happens in Dick Grayson and it just comes back around to him again, I could see it.
Yeah, I mean, the way that Bruce looked at the child, I was like, I hope that's, planting seeds for, the fact that he has that he feels that way, he felt that way for this kid. He'll feel that way for Dick Grayson when he comes around. And the representation of the child from beginning to end, where the child is the one who takes his hand, and then people trust him, and Batman's there in the daylight helping people. Like, it's pretty great.
All right. So here's another question. Did Batman kill anyone in this movie? Like, every movie argues that Batman doesn't kill. We always find, like, in every movie where, yeah, I don't see a point in this where I feel like I have to argue that he killed anybody.
No, not really. Not really that I can tell. I mean, he did throw a guy over a railing, but there was also a landing down there, but, and stairs, so who knows, but nothing really that I can pinpoint.
Right. Interesting, right? Just a thought. Okay. So now, just want to throw this out there. There was nothing with Wayne Industries as far as the company in this movie, because even when we were supposed to be getting the Wayne Industry accountants, it cuts away. So, interesting. Definitely somewhere can be explored. I love the fact that the Nolan films is like reading Batman as a comic book, and this movie is like reading Detective Comics.
Before this movie had come out, Batman Begins was my favorite Batman movie, the best Batman movie. These are similar and different, and just after one viewing, I gotta look at it again, and it can always change, but this might be my favorite Batman movie.
It's right now, Begins still sits as my favorite. This is in my top 3, and they're kind of shuffling around. But with this, The Dark Knight and Batman Begins in live action in my top 3. But I feel like The Dark Knight and this kind of are shuffling, because like, which one might I put on more? So I don't know. We'll give it a little bit of time and see what happens, but it's in my top 3. There was no Wayne murder scene. The origins all told and kind of, it's part of the story. And Tom and Martha were killed in 2001. And it even says that it's 20 years since their death. That's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah. It's interesting though. They don't specify, they don't show it, they don't specify what it happened or how it happened. But Penguin does say, "Are you with Zorro here?"
Oh yeah, that was cool.
I like that.
Crap. I lost my train. Anyways, we're getting there. I love the narration. very comic booky, but helping us get inside Bruce's head. Very noir too. So it just works.
So the narration, I loved it too because it works. What I think is very interesting, instead of it being like an inner monologue, kind of a narration going over, it's what he's writing down. It's how he's tracking his
journals,
his journals, his journey as Batman and as a detective. Because the stuff he writes about is how he feels about how he's impacting Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it works so well, and how the movie was bookended with it, because it was only at the beginning and only at the end.
Mm-hmm. It was perfect. So let's finish out some of our scorecard points here as we lead to the big ones. The suit. I gave it a 7.5. Jania a 9. Solomon a 9. We've talked about it a little bit. I liked, from the waist up, the utility belt was too much of like a. I don't really want Batman to feel like I could go to a surplus store and piece it together. But this is a very like homemade, do-it-yourself Batman. And like I said, it's very in line with the Earth 1. I recommend everyone go read Earth 1. The boots are very generic kind of combat boots, but what I loved was they were weighted. And when he walked, you heard the thump of it. And Jania compared it to like spurs. When your old Westerns, when they're walking in, like you just hear that sound.
Yeah.
And it adds to the fear element, because this movie is very much about the fear. And like the whole opening scene of Batman being something they're afraid of. They're never sure where he is. Everyone's afraid of him.
Oh, the opening scene was perfect.
So
the opening Batman narration and reveal, yeah, it was perfect.
So what is your thoughts on the suit, of what we haven't said completely yet?
What new? What haven't we said? I still don't get what the things are on his arm.
I know that he uses them, I
don't know what. So, okay, so let me throw this out there. His grappling gun shoots out from underneath his gauntlet and out to his hand. Yes. So are those grappling bolts that automatically reload when it goes away?
And that was one of my things. I wish we got to actually see the gauntlets do something like
That's the only thing I can think of why they would be there, that they would have a use that they didn't show. That would make sense for Batman being able to repeatedly, use his grapple gun, which he did in this movie. And he had a lot of them, especially when he was fighting the guys up in the scaffolding, and he took them all out without killing anybody.
Yeah, we might actually have to do a commentary thing with this movie in April. It would be kind of neat to do one that's recent as we watch it, since it's going to be on HBO.
Right.
It could be fun. So that takes me to his gadgets. I gave his gadgets a 7. Jania a 7. Solomon gave it a 10.
I gave his gadgets a 7.5. Like I said, I love the fact that they were there and he just used them. And then those lenses were amazing. The way he, like I said, the way he used them he had instant identification on people, or nearly. He could see through it. He could, it recorded everything and he went through it. The way he used it at the crime scenes, he didn't have to touch much. He just looked around.
Right. It made him more mysterious, because he's not actually and I like when he would say stuff like, it's this because of this.
Yeah.
And it just gave him this ominousness. Okay, so what do you give his bat voice? I gave it an 8, and Janine and Solomon gave it a 10.
So I gave it a 7 because I thought it was really good. But sometimes when he was talking, he sounded like he was just talking. Like you could definitely still tell that it was Robert Pattinson right there.
It's much more
But
in
he
line
did
with, like,
have
the
a
Keaton
gruffled,
voice.
lower tone at a good amount of times, because mostly when that came out was really mostly when he was talking to Selena. So I feel like he relaxes a little bit more, you know, in that regard. But yeah, sometimes I could just hear him talking like Pattinson, and like I said, that's through one viewing. So maybe it was more when he was talking with Selena, and I didn't realize it because it's just, mixing more Batman in the cowl scenes because we got so much of it. It was so great. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
It was Batman. It was a Batman movie.
I hope that the suit gets more, like, refined in future films.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and if you want bullets to bounce off of it, fine. They bounced off of Ben Affleck, and his was so comic accurate. So it doesn't really, you just expect it when you go to see it, you know?
You've got money, bro. You better have a really good suit like
And
that.
you don't have to explain it. He has a great suit because he's Batman. There you go. Because I'm Batman.
And that's one thing that bummed me in this movie is he never says, I'm Batman. And I think that'll be a big point in the next one.
I think it would have more of an impact in the next one because in this one he's vengeance, but in the next one he has a different goal, a different rep to kind of, achieve.
Yes. Absolutely. All right, so we're just going to go through the numbers and then we'll kind of decide. We'll talk about it together. Bruce Wayne, I gave him a 5. Jania an 8, Solomon a 5. And my rationale is he's the broken man Bruce who's Batman 100% of the time. He hasn't really crafted his Bruce Wayne persona, his character yet. So it's kind of like how I talked about how with Christian Bale, he got 3 movies as a trilogy. And I look at his Bruce Wayne through all 3 of them. And he wasn't as high, Chase Smith, because of how I didn't like what he did in The Dark Knight Rises. So this Bruce, to me, be much more to examine once we have multiple Pattinson performances. But I put it at a 5 just because he's still forming Bruce Wayne.
Well, see, I've heard a lot of debate about this, about his Bruce Wayne is not formed. It's not, but the Bruce Wayne that everybody's talking about is a persona,
Right.
which he hasn't gotten there. So, I mean, at this point, his Bruce Wayne, he's Batman. It's one and the same. You know what I mean? So in this movie alone, they're one and the same. So I mean, I have to give him quite a bit higher, like an 8.5, and his Batman persona is a 9. Because the times where he gets to still act broken is when he's talking to Alfred, the 2 main times, when he's worried about Alfred, when he's racing back to the Wayne Tower, which is awesome, by the way, because he thinks he's racing to stop something from happening that already happened. That happened an hour ago. Which was really cool about the movie. Kind of like thinking he had a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But and the times that he was broken, it's still raw. He hasn't come to terms with it enough yet. He hasn't done enough with his life yet as Batman to start to heal.
Mm-hmm. So I gave him a 9. Solomon gave him a 9. Chania gave a 9.5 on his.
So
Batman
I give him an 8.5. Yeah,
on his
I
Batman.
think
persona.
it's a very different Bruce Wayne that we're seeing right now. We're used to seeing we get to see a little bit of that in Batman Begins. But when he comes back, he's already trying to craft it.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. I think Pattinson surprised all of us. Was an amazing Batman. I think he does a great job being Batman. When I see him as Bruce, I'm like, he doesn't 100% look the part, but I can see it. I want to see him in a turtleneck in the sequel. So maybe that'll help, put him back in a turtleneck.
In a nice cashmere turtleneck?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Question for you. Do you think that was Venom that Batman used in the final act?
I won't lie that it crossed my mind.
Dude, I straight up sat up and looked at Jania, and she looked at me, and I was like, is that Venom? She's like, I think so. I'm like, it was green. And I think it was just one of those, and I even reread Batman Venom. I think it was just enough to hint at something without being too, most people are like, oh, it's adrenaline. I'm like, okay, then why is it green?
Green has a distinctive look to Batman comic book fans when you're talking about something like that, similar to adrenaline that you would kind of inject yourself with to, get back up as he did, after taking a double barrel shotgun blast to the chest.
And I say it also because Matt Reeves did a very great job. He didn't Rachel Dawes anything. And what I mean is he didn't force in a character and make something new up. Everyone that he's playing with in the sandbox here are comic characters. There's no main character that's not a comic character. And he's doing so many nods to so many different comic book things. It would not surprise me if it was Venom.
Right. Yeah, I could see Venom being ushered into the streets early on. Or some kind of low dose raw, something.
Yeah, exactly.
I
also want to touch on the whole Spanish riddle about La Rata, the rodent with wings. How not obvious is it? It's a bat. A rat with wings, a rodent with wings. They talk about a stool pigeon, a penguin, a bat, and then a falcon. You know what else I'm going to throw out there, James? An owl. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they did have the card that said, who?
I'm just saying, plant seeds. Bring it in. One of the most interesting critiques I've seen from people is they said,
I could see it fitting well.
They've said, this is a prequel to a movie I want to see or the sequel to a movie I've not seen. And I find that's a very interesting critique to this movie.
Well, I think the critique is trying to judge it on something it's not. You're judging it on something that you haven't seen, or rather something that you've seen done in something else. And, you're judging it for something you want it to be what you think the Batman should be at a certain time in his career, and that's not what the movie is. So I think it's kind of just you're judging, you're saying it's not what you wanted, and I have that same thought. This isn't the Batman movie that I wanted, but I don't begrudge seeing it. I don't regret seeing it at all. The Batman movie I wanted was with Ben Affleck and Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke.
I think also when we get to be a certain age, you're like, oh, I've already seen this. Well, yeah, but you know what? It doesn't matter that Batman already exists. I can show my kids Begins or 89 or whatever. 89 to them is boring. And I get it. The action in that movie is boring. But being caught up in the newness that this is their Batman. Like, this was Solomon's first Batman on the big screen. This is his Batman. And to him, this is all kind of new, even though we can go watch the other stuff that's already kind of existed. And when you get to be a certain age, you see repetitive things. And I mean, yeah, Nolan's films don't seem like they're that long ago, but this year it's been 10 years since The Dark Knight Rises.
And that's the finale. That's
what I'm saying?
The third one.
And 17 years from rough math, without really thinking about it, since
2005, yeah.
Batman Begins.
Pretty close.
16 years.
It'll be 17 this year, but
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, people talk about it as if it was just last year, like they did a Spider-Man 3 and Andrew Garfield thing with the Amazing Spider-Man. But still, that is enough time to stand up and do a new Batman solo, and you have a whole new generation of kids. Because people don't always go backwards; they look forward. One note I say is I feel like there's themes, ideas that Nolan did that Matt Reeves is touching on that he could do better. Because even in his real world sensibilities, there's still a lot of comic book sensibilities. And there's one more major thing that we have not touched on, James.
Let me guess, the person who shows up in the end?
Riddler's friend in the cell. What did you think about Riddler's friend?
I like the interaction. I like the dialogue, the way he lifted the Riddler up, kind of told him things weren't done and that he's still got room to grow. I love that about it.
Gotham loves a comeback story. And I guess this was the second scene with that character. There was another scene earlier with that character that was cut. I had a whole Matt Reeves talked about it, and I'll send you the link for it. And my thought was, he said he left the second scene in there because it really closes the Riddler's arc of this movie, where he's now going to become something more. And, we have these set up for maybe with Reeves' love for 66, maybe we'll see a team up style movie, but with his version. But what did you think about who that person was, James?
The voice was okay. I just the glimpse you could see through like the screen of the cell. I thought he looked somewhat disfigured, but I'm glad they included it. I was okay with it, and I like I said, I like how I like the interaction, the way the Riddler came around, like Matt Reeves says, he closed the arc of his character from the movie, because he did. He thought he was one thing, he crashed, he thought it was over, he thought, how could this happen? And now he's back to, I have a friend, and we can, or I can do this again.
Oh yeah, and by the way, the character we're talking about is the Joker.
Yeah, which they don't specify, but they do say clown.
Played by Barry Keoghan, most recently in Eternals as Druig. So if anyone's like, where's this guy from? There you go. It's on Disney Plus.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I liked him in the movie. I'd like to see him portray the Joker.
So that's part of why I had heard this, and part of it got leaked. That's why I knew Brian's theory about Joaquin being the Joker was wrong.
No, I hadn't
also
heard
knew
it.
about
I heard a speculation of Joker, but I never saw anything.
There was even scenes that were filmed with Barry as Merkel, a police officer, just to kind of throw people off. So, and you know what? As much as I've been preaching, I don't want another Joker. Somehow in Matt Reeves' style of it feels like it could work if they don't make him the focal point and he's part of the team or something. I just feel like it could work. But that's where we're gonna kind of plug it and leave it for now. Any last final thoughts when we get out of here?
I really wish I could go see this again. I don't know if that would be possible. I really enjoyed it. I want to see it again, and I look forward to it coming to HBO Max and then home media.
Yeah, Matt Reeves did say,
bye.
Yeah, he's gonna release the other scene.
I haven't bought the Suicide Squad.
I did, but I've yet to actually watch it on disc.
I watched it an extra time on HBO.
Me too. Right after I finished Peacemaker.
Right.
But
that does elevate it a little bit, I think.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to put a pin in the Batman for now. And stay tuned to hear some of our Brian's thoughts and Jania's thoughts. And thank you for listening to the Krypton Report, part of Press Play Podcast Network. We want to thank our Patreons members who are part of our $1 club. For $1, check out our Patreon, and you can get exclusive content. We put up things each month, commentaries, and sometimes just whatever seems that, we want to talk about. So check out our Patreon, and remember. Okay, here we are after seeing the Batman. Who's here? Sound it off.
I'm Solomon, Dad's son.
And of course, we couldn't be seeing Batman without the big bad bride.
Vengeance is here.
Vengeance. So Solomon, you go first, bro. What did you think of the movie? Talk. Say it.
Well, I think it was a little bloody for the kids.
Yeah, okay.
I wish it was it looks like a...
You say it's not for kids. That's for sure.
Straight from the 7-year-old. I love it.
Yes, it's not for kids, I'll say 4 and below.
Uh-huh.
You said a 4-year-old can watch this?
You said 4 and below, not 4.
I just don't want little children watching this because it is too bloody. First we see him kill the random guy, and then we see him.
You think the Riddler was a little scary?
Yes.
I liked my favorite Riddler scene is when he's talking to Batman at the jail.
Oh, that's everybody's favorite.
Because I feel like that's when you get to see him more as the character, and I'm so glad that he didn't die because I want to see Paul Dano again. And then
when Paul Dano was cast, I was like, yes.
I like.
All right.
And see, because of his plan at the end. Oh, frack!
Yeah, you gotta turn left here.
Yeah, I know. Totally forgot. I got excited.
It's okay. Do you think I follow the rules of the road?
But his plan, that's why he had the mask, the winter mask, and flight jacket.
The whole time we were like, why the heck aren't they showing his face? Why aren't they showing his face? And it's because there was more than one.
It's because he put that, he bought it all from an army surplus store so that you could have multiple. So, what do you think of Penguin?
His head was too damaged.
Too damaged?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, his scars.
I didn't like it.
What about Catwoman?
Well, I like her costume and everything.
You thought she was cute, huh?
But I just don't like her mask.
Fair enough.
His criticisms are the same as mine.
Hey, what do they say about truth in mouths of babes?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. What do you think about Gordon?
Well, I just liked him.
I did too. I like how he would just kind of man, he would add man, what are you doing, man? Get out of here, man. This feels very natural from Jeffrey Wright. Come on.
What
Man.
about Batman?
Well, okay, wait, hold on, we're getting there. Solomon, what do you think about Alfred?
Too young.
Too young?
Now that poses the question: how old is Amy Sturgis? 50 something?
Probably.
You should make Alfred 69 or
69, dude.
or 60 or 61.
He's totally your son.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, in Batman Robin, Batman Forever, Alfred's great. But in this movie, Alfred looks like...
Now, when we get home, I'm going to show you the comic book that this Alfred is straight out of.
Straight
based on.
Straight out of Compton.
All right?
Straight out of Compton.
Okay, so we got Alfred.
Yeah?
We got... Who? Anyone else we're missing before we get to Batman?
Mystery.
How about Dory the housekeeper?
She was cool. I liked her. Alright, Solomon, what did you think about Batman?
We need Bruce Wayne.
Okay, what do you think about Bruce Wayne?
And, Carmine.
Carmine?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about Carmine?
Okay. I say... I liked him. Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think, Brian?
What about you, Brian?
Where do I begin?
Just real quick. Okay, hold on. We'll do all same thing with Brian, okay? Alright, Solomon, get the Batmobile. What's your thoughts on the Batmobile?
I like how it's fast and just blue light and fire coming out.
Yeah.
What I didn't like is I think it's too pointy at the top.
You think it's too pointy?
Yeah. What do you think, Brian?
Hold on. Alright, Solomon, what do you think about Bruce Wayne?
Oh, okay.
And then we're going to do Brian's.
I think about you should remove his hair.
Yeah?
You say cut his hair? That's what he said?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just cut his hair. And just cut a little... there's two strips on this eye.
Ah.
It was a little too emo, as we predicted it would be.
I mean, he's straight up
I would
Kirkman.
say, cut him right here.
Uh-huh.
And just... That's all my Bruce Wayne.
I think it's all part of his evolution of what we'll see in the sequel with Bruce Wayne. Okay.
I totally agree.
Solomon, what'd you think about the Riddler's special friend in Arkham?
Oh. Well, his hair looked great. And he had a laugh.
Yeah, so who was it?
Okay, spoiler alert, everybody. You need to watch the Batman right now. If you want to be spoiled, you better watch spoiled. If you don't want to be spoiled, pause the video.
That's my boy.
Okay, so the Arkham friend is Riddler.
So who's the Riddler?
The Joker.
Yeah, it was the Joker. And last question, then we'll go to Brian.
Yeah.
Do you think that was Venom that Batman took there at the end to fight the guy when he was knocked out?
That's a good question.
That? Oh, yes.
All right. Now,
Well, I thought he was gonna turn big and plus, I think at the end, it was
middle. All right, Brian. So here we got Big Bad Brian in the car. We just got out of the movie.
I hope you can remember all your questions.
All right, we'll start with Brian. Brian,
Yes.
thoughts on Paul Dano as the Riddler?
Paul Dano was amazing.
Now,
So Paul, I'll talk normally because that's eventually going to get to me. That's why Batman doesn't talk too much. So when Paul was cast, I was really excited because I saw him in a Swiss Army Man. With Daniel Radcliffe, and he was just, he played a disturbed, guy, like not really in grasp with reality. And then his role in that movie with Hugh Jackman, where he was like a child murderer, like abductor.
Was it Prisoners?
Yeah. He sold me in Prisoners.
You know what's funny when it comes to Paul Dano? One of my favorite Paul Dano performances is completely different. It's he played a young Brian Wilson in a Beach Boys movie. That cut between the past and the future, or the current time in the movie. But
fair enough.
I was like, I loved him in that, but I'd seen him like in There Will Be Blood. With
I have not seen There Will Be Blood yet.
with what's his face, Daniel Day-Lewis.
But I knew Paul had range, and I wanted to see an Edward Nygma Edward Nashton, the correct origin name or whatever. Edward Nygma's just alias. But anyway,
works for me.
Him as Nashton, like I wanted to see this guy just absolutely on the hinge of everything, like needing attention, needing focus on him, having a plan, an obsession, scarred. Like he nailed it in everything he did. Like his emotional reactions to things not going his way, he took a little bit of Jim Carrey pre-Riddler turn.
Yeah.
When he's like, "You're supposed to understand," and I think he even wore the same clear glasses.
Thank you. I was going to say that. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I think Reeves did the clear glasses on purpose as an homage. Just like when Bruce calls home, the phone rings and everything, I think is an homage to Batman 66.
Oh yeah, did you see the Shakespeare? Yeah. Oh, and City Hall, Gotham City Hall was definitely a homage or whatever to 66 because it was shaped pretty much the same way.
I mean, Matt Reeves did his homework.
Absolutely.
He did his Bat homework.
Absolutely. And I cannot wait to see more of Dano as the Riddler. I can't wait because you're going to get more.
Oh, we have to. I think and like we said, comics that this was inspired from: Year One, Zero Year, Arkham games, Telltale, Earth One, Long Halloweenisms. Solomon, that's right, Siri. Solomon even called me when Carmine was talking to Bruce about getting shot. He goes, just like in the Long Halloween.
Just like in the Long Halloween, my man.
I was like, man, that's my boy right there.
And I thought the pacing between the villains was fantastic. The villains did not overshadow the movie. It was a Batman movie.
Oh no, it was straight up a Batman movie.
Straight up Batman.
Almost everything was Pattinson in the bat suit.
Yes.
Alright, so Penguin.
Okay, so Penguin. I did not like the Penguin, like, being an Italian man myself, like, Penguin talked like a Brooklyn gangster. And, while that's, like, I mean, he's a gangster, I understand, and Colin Farrell has, like, this movie was cast perfectly. Yeah. Like, it was cast so well. And Colin Farrell, absolutely unrecognizable as a Penguin. But, I mean, they got him being a chicken shit, they got him right with that.
Yeah.
Him manipulating certain things because he's gonna, we see like he's gonna take over now.
Yeah.
He's gonna get into his role. I guess my only complaint is Colin Farrell is a taller guy. Like I would have liked the Penguin to be a little shorter. I didn't like the scars on the face. I'm with Solo.
Yeah.
But I can get over that. But I guess the voice. I didn't like the voice. I didn't like this Brooklyn gangster, like, hey, sweetheart,
It didn't bother me, because it's better than, like, the broken Cockney type from the Arkham games.
Well, it's more like a broken Italian, like, Brooklyn accent, whatever. Oh, and why did every villain kind of talk like, The Godfather? Like, there was like one cop in there before Batman punched Gordon. It was like,
give him the room.
Yeah, the chief.
We didn't make him an offer.
The chief.
Yeah. And then even Carmine Falcone, which the name of the actor escapes me.
John Storia.
Yeah, John. Yeah, even he tried to talk to old Godfather. All right. Catwoman's next, right? Okay.
Yep.
I think that Kravitz nailed it. I think she did awesome. Her fight scenes were great. Her interaction with Batman was great. She had that sexiness. She played it very well. I did not like the mask. It didn't make sense to me. It was like all cut off the top for the eyes and then just covering the nose. It was just weird.
It was like someone who wanted to wear a ski mask, but just it was too hot to like really want to have it on their whole face. So they're like just enough to obscure their face, But the mask. But
as a kind of an origin story for all the villains as well. I think she did very well for her. Origin story. They didn't really. Like, Matt Reeves didn't really waste time. I mean, the movie could have probably been cut down maybe 20 minutes.
And that's because he let every scene breathe.
Yes.
He let the actors take their time and move. It was not cut tightly. It was cut to allow movement and pacing and you to look at things and let the actors play out.
Yeah.
You look at some movies where it's like cut. This was like, all right. Okay.
And it rained like 5 out of 7 days in Gotham.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about elections. The movie opens on Halloween.
Yeah.
Isn't it usually November 5th is election day?
Yeah.
So about a 5 to 6 day range of this movie.
Who's next?
You did Carmine. The Batmobile.
Okay, the Batmobile. Okay, my main criticism of the Batman Begins Batmobile was it was a freaking tank. It wasn't the Batmobile.
It was the tumbler.
I didn't like it. I hate that Batmobile. If anybody hates my opinion, it's my opinion. It's life.
Totally.
But anyway, this one might have been a little bit too mobile. But
for the aesthetic of this movie.
Aesthetic of this movie, yes. I mean, it was basically a Dodge Challenger, pimped out with a huge ass engine, like a rocket engine, or whatever. It had fins in the back to give it that bat feel, that aerodynamic. It had speed. It seemed to be, it definitely was bulletproof. Like for this to be his first Batmobile in year 2, totally cool with it. But at the end of the movie, we saw the bat cycle with a bat thing in front of it.
Yeah.
So I would love to see a live action Batmobile that has that bat head in the front.
Yeah.
Because he used it to like ram vehicles and stuff.
I could see it being done where like it comes up from like the front and then tilt down.
Yeah.
To use it to ram something.
Yeah.
And then ducks back in.
Yeah. I mean, I have no real full complaints about the Batmobile. I think that it wasn't overdone with.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't overused. It wasn't like Arkham, Knight game where all you have to do is use the Batmobile. It was good enough. Like, yeah. What else?
As far as the Batmobile goes,
yeah.
I really like it. It's grown on me. I like that it's a car again because it feels like something I could get behind and drive. Just rip through town. The front of it, though, the more I looked at it, there's little parts in the very front and the bottom, like grill, that remind me of the '66 Batmobile.
That's right.
And like you said, it's year 2, and it just looks like a monster car. Like it's a monster of a vehicle. It's not a tank, but it's just something I feel like you could just get in and drive. All right, Alfred.
Okay. I really thought we were going to get more of Andy Serkis in this movie as Alfred, and I kind of feel a little cheated that we didn't get much.
And that, yeah, I feel like I almost don't really have an opinion because I didn't get enough of him.
Yeah.
And he was a very small, like their relationship is building. like, it's still in its infancy as far as, I think, the scene where he's in the hospital and Bruce kind of basically says and admits to him that how Alfred was to him is like a rebuilding of their relationship. And it's very Earth One. I mean, the Alfred and Bruce dynamic is very Earth One.
Absolutely. I mean, I liked how, he's setting up his, he's helping him with these, with the ciphers and doing that part and, kind of helping him out a little bit. But I would have liked, I want to see more of Alfred. I mean, I want to see more of everything. I felt this movie was very, very much world building.
Yeah.
If anything. Like, okay, we got a guy that's like, how old is Pattinson? 35? He's our age, right? He's 35. So, if you have him be Batman at 35, and he still looks young, he's good shape, you can build a whole franchise with this dude now.
I want a quadrilogy. They've talked about ideas for a trilogy or quadrilogy. I think with the way Reeves did this film, I think a quadrilogy would be cool. Because it would be a little bit more than just 3 films, and it would probably allow it more to breathe the world and accomplish more with it. Than just being like, oh, only 3 films, we're done.
Okay, we'll get to it. Okay, what else next?
Batman.
Okay. Pattinson was awesome. He freaking nailed it. Like, this movie was a Batman movie through and through. I loved the opening scene, and that's why I'm glad that I presented you guys. Woo! I'm glad I presented you the guys that thought, like, what is your favorite Batman intro? Like, what's your favorite? Like, this is the opening scene, introduction to Batman, and this might have to be my favorite now. Before it was Keaton's.
Well, see, Keaton's, I didn't say this to you, but I was like, Keaton gets the kind of cheap because you have the drop down scene, but then right before you see him standing on the roof and he turns and walks away. And it's like a tease before you actually see him. And I'm like,
But it was perfect for the Batman character because they pulled a gun on that kid. He saw it.
Well, how much more cooler would it if you just drop down right there? Why do you have to wait for them to get away and then act? What a weirdo.
No, and shut up, dude. Keaton was a fantastic Batman, and that was great. Him dropping down like that, it was awesome.
It was.
And number 2. Okay, maybe number 2 is number 1, really. Well, no, Pattinson's one's number 1 right now. But okay, Affleck's introduction as Batman is kind of really up there for me.
It is.
Because, like, you see these people in cages, they're freaking terrified of Batman. Like, they don't want to be let out. They're freaking terrified. And then the cops are shooting the shiny lights, and he's in the freaking corner, and then he moves really fast and gets the heck out of there.
Yeah.
Like, that was awesome. But,
I loved him walking out. But I loved the weighted boots.
Yes.
You heard him coming. It was almost like hearing spurs, like from a cowboy. Because he comes just walking towards you.
I think that was totally intentional. But this was great. Like, him saying that, I can't be everywhere. And then all these criminals looking in the shadows like, is he there? Is he there? Is this it for me? Like, absolutely terrified. And then him walking very slowly out of that shadow near that subway. And then, I'm vengeance. That was awesome.
I wish we would have got it towards the end, though, with I Am Batman.
Okay, so I was thinking the whole movie, did anyone call him Batman? Other than in print, did anyone say Batman?
Alfred.
Alfred
That's
did?
it.
Okay.
For the Batman.
Everyone was like,
Batman.
well, vengeance.
Yeah, because he calls himself Vengeance. And that's why they kind of use it as mocking towards him.
That's fair.
And that's the whole point of, like, his arc is he's not just vengeance. He's got to be a hero to the city.
Well, it's
because even the whole point. Okay, here's my question to you.
Okay.
Does the Riddler know that Bruce Wayne is Batman?
Absolutely.
I don't think he does. I watched that scene carefully because I think if you watch it, he alludes, you think that he does, but then he goes, "We didn't get him."
Yeah, but he was talking about, when he said "we," he was talking about the other guys.
No, he's talking about him and Batman because he sees him and Batman as one. They're the same. Because when he's like, "We're working together. You brought Falcone to the light, like I told you." And I think, and what I'm thinking is, he was so lightning focused and hated Bruce Wayne as being the orphan that everyone praised, that he could not solve the riddle because he saw Batman as, like him, who wore a mask and all this. And I think if you do a sequel, the Riddler figures it out, and then he can't tell anyone because that scene is played beautifully. I would love to, when it hits HBO Max, you and me dissect it, because I was like, oh man, he knows. But then when he starts saying, we did this together, and he goes, and he says, no, this wasn't how it was supposed to go. I think now that he's like vindicated and hates Batman, he'll unravel the whole thing.
Because I kind of took this and teasing him.
I thought so too. And then,
because he just kept saying, Bruce.
And the way he was saying it is that, like if the cameras saw him, they wouldn't be able to tell his mouth what he was saying. Because he was like, Bruce. So
but also on his board in his apartment,
and that's
had the picture, and then had all this Batman stuff.
Because he
said, "I know the real you,"
and the real you is the mask. Because he says, "You should have seen me in my mask. That was me."
Okay.
And I think he was so obsessed.
Let's say he doesn't know him.
I think he was so obsessed that he couldn't put it together until Batman just shattered his world. And now when he figures it out, he's going to hate Batman even more.
I love it. I like it. I also think that out there is Tommy Elliott. And Tommy Elliott, I remember I told you, I said I was worried that they were going to reverse the Hush story.
Yeah.
Where the Riddler was Tommy Elliott.
Yeah.
And I was worried about that instead of like what they did, with the cartoon that I hated. Tommy Elliott's out there because the reporter was Tommy Elliott's dad. It had to be.
Yeah.
And then Hush was all over there. Like, come on, that's Omen.
But the thing was, the Elliott, this isn't more of an Earth one, so I can go with Tommy being the reporter's kid. Because originally, the Elliots, the Canes, and the Cobblepots and the Waynes were supposed to be the four families of Gotham. And then in some stories like this, the Arkhams was one of the founding families. And that's going to play into it. If you've read all...
Well, that's how the Telltale games.
If you've read all of the Earth 1 books, especially number 3...
I haven't read 3 yet.
Oh, dude. And I don't want to say too much, but it talks more about the history of the Arkham family. I think that's going to play more... Because Matt Reeves did state that the Arkham would play a larger part in the sequel.
Well, they're already building Arkham Asylum. If they have Joker and Riddler in there.
But it was State Hospital, which is how it is in Earth 1. Because the asylum was closed in Earth 1, the series. They closed the asylum and they built the Arkham State Hospital.
Man, I read those books when they first came out, and then I was waiting for Earth 3 forever, and I forgot the
it took forever to get that thing. I reread them just last week. Me and Jania, I sat up one night and just reread all 3. It was part of my Two-Face study. Hey, Solomon. What's up, Solomon? Yeah. Do you think the Riddler knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne?
Yes.
Alright, Solomon says yes.
You know why?
Why?
Because how he said Bruce Wayne. That was what. He definitely.
Alright. We're going to put a pin in our recording here.
Look up in the sky.
We just want to say, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out other podcasts on the Press Play Podcast Network. But also, if you love Superman and DC Comics, please listen to the following: The Last Sons of Krypton, Superman the Animated Podcast, Holy Batcast, The Geek of Steel, Digging for Kryptonite, The Aspiring Kryptonian, the All-Star Superfan Podcast, is Superboy the Legacy Podcast. Enjoy.